Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Erica and I make videos all about making and selling candles. And in today's video, it is going to be a part 2 to the candle making Q&A video that I did. It's probably a month ago by now that I did that video. So what I did was I went on my community tab here on YouTube, and I also went on my Instagram, and I asked you guys just some questions directly that you guys would want answered in today's video. I'm gonna try my best to answer all of the questions. There were, I think, a couple repeats, but I'm just gonna go through first on my community tab and then go right into Instagram. So without further ado, we're gonna get right into it. So going right on to my, I have my iPad here that I'm able to read off. I didn't have to rewrite it on paper, so this is really cool. So going right into the first question. This question is, it got 5 upvotes. And I get this question all the time, and I actually think I did answer it in my first candle making Q&A video, but I will also answer it in this video because I have a little bit more experience with it. I did a little bit of a test. So this first question is, how do you ship your candles in the summer heat? Do you worry it will mess with the integrity of your candle? So what I actually did was, my sister just wanted to purchase more melts from me, so she actually purchased some wax melts from me, but then I also asked her if I could just send her a candle and have her leave it in her mailbox all day long. So she lives in Nevada, right next to Vegas, and it got up to, I think it was 102 or 103 that day, I can't remember, but I had her leave it in the mailbox all day long, and then she went to go get it. So I'm going to insert some pictures that she sent to me so you can see what the candle looked like when she opened it up. Now, the first photo that she sent me, I was like, wow, that actually is amazing, and I'm so happy with it. And then she sent the other one, and honestly, for it being sitting in a mailbox, which when you think about it, if it's 102, 103 outside, an enclosed mailbox is probably gonna be, what, 110, maybe even a little bit hotter than that. So for me, with the wax that I use, I know it's different with any kind of you know, other waxes. I know that 464 starts to melt a lot quicker. With mine, I have to make sure that when I'm making candles, it's at a higher temperature. I can't do a lower temp method. It starts to solidify way too fast. So I can't do that, but I thought it was kind of an interesting test that I did. I do want to also go to Uline and get those little cool packs and try them out. So I want to send her a candle, one without the cool packs and then the other with cool packs, and see the difference, see if it actually makes a difference. I feel like you guys would probably like that kind of video because, especially with summer coming up, it's gonna get hot, really, really hot at certain places in the country. So we have to make sure that we are trying to take that into account. I know some people will only ship Monday through Wednesday, or maybe even only Monday and Tuesday, just so that their candles are not sitting in a warehouse for too long. So that is my plan, but at least I, you know, was able to do a little bit of a test on a really hot day. So that was kind of the outcome of that. Had a little bit of sweating on it, but she basically just said, oh, I'm just gonna let it cool down. People who live in really hot climates, when they get something like that, I was just worried that it was going to be a complete mess. I thought that the candle would be completely melted all over the place, which would be kind of catastrophic, but with it just being a little sweaty on top, yeah, it wasn't, to me, it wasn't that big of a deal. To different customers, it probably would depend on the kind of customer it is, but people who live in really hot climates, when they're ordering candles, I'm hoping that most people know to try to get the candle as quickly as you can out of the mailbox, but I did that as a test and told her, leave it in there all day long. So that is how I feel about that. So we're gonna move on to the next question. And I don't know how many questions there are. I don't know how long this video is gonna be, so hopefully you guys are just playing it and just enjoying it in the background or whatever you're doing. So Next question is, do you perform candle tests every time you get a new fragrance that you haven't worked with? Yes, I always test every fragrance oil that I get that's new with any of my, that I'm testing, obviously because I just want to test and see how it does, but I will test the candle to see how it performs. And that's really important because sometimes with certain waxes, people will say that it gives an amazing hot throw, cold throw, but with your kind of wax, it might not. So you always want to make sure that you are doing tests on every fragrance oil to see how it performs. And a really good kind of but an example of this is I have a wax melt called Lemonade Stand, and when I first got that scent in, I made a wax melt with it and I didn't test it, but I gave it to my leasing office. She was one of the ladies at the leasing office. She loves lemon scents, so I gave that to her and she said it was wonderful. She really liked it. And I was like, cool, like I really like the lemon scent. It's more of a fresh lemon scent. It's not like a chemical-y smell. So I made a candle out of it. I actually made 2 full-size candles out of it. And I was just gonna list them on my shop. And a part of me was just like, I should probably test this in a candle first. Thank goodness, because it puts off the most awful chemically smell to it, and it's terrible. So I kind of wasted 2 candles just by making them because I thought that it was going to be good. Should have done it the usual way that I test, which is I have if you guys don't know, I have like a ton of testing jars that I kind of mess up on, but they're just there to test. I have so much just random wax in them. So if a candle is like this big and it has like this much of wax, I'll fill like this much of scent to it and I'll do a test just to see how it smells. So that's what I should have done with it, but I didn't because I was just too excited about the scent. That it worked well in the wax melt doesn't mean it's gonna work well on a candle. And yeah, I should probably test it again, just to see what it smells like, just to see if it still smells like that. I got really bummed out about that one because it was such a good scent. Next question is, I'm not sure if you've answered this already, but how do you test to see if 2 or more fragrances mix well together? So with that, you just kind of test. So I get this question a lot. A lot of you guys will ask, how do I know what the ratio is to use? How do I know how much of each fragrance oil to use to make a candle with? And there's no right answer. So that's kind of like asking, how do I paint this picture? What color should I use to paint with? It's kind of your choice. You just choose how much of each that you want to use. If you want to do a mixture of vanilla and lavender and you want to have more of a vanilla scent, you can do maybe 75% vanilla, 25% lavender. You could do 50-50. You could do just a tiny bit of one, just maybe 10% if it's really overwhelming, and then 90% of an other. You could do a mixture of different, like 3 different scents together. I don't see anything wrong with it. I don't see anything wrong with putting a bunch of scents together and trying to create something that you like that's your unique scent. I mean, if you look at some of the notes on some of the pre-blended bottles, there could be up to like 10 different notes, maybe even more, I don't know. So it's kind of just your choice, just have fun with it. One of the things that I had seen in the Facebook group that somebody talked about was, if you wanna know if 2 different scents blend might, smell really good together, just take a little bit of a Q-tip, dip it in on each of the scents, put them together, and then just kind of see what that smells like together. And you can see if one's overpowering, if they even smell well blended together. You can kind of try to, mix it together and just kind of see, just play around with it. There is no right or wrong answer when it comes to that one. Okay, this next one's a little bit longer, but I'm just gonna read kind of the end where the question is. They say, I'm using 464 with medium straight-sided jars and CD12 wicks. Is it bad after 2 hours to not have a complete melt pool and still have buildup on the sides? Can the temperature of the room, if it's really cold, cause the wax to dry too fast, causing wet spots and frosting? With the temperature of the room, I feel like that could be an issue. I feel like I had a lot more frosting on my wax melts in the winter when I was making them than now in the summer. I haven't gotten I don't think I've seen any frosting actually on my wax melts since I've been making them in the summer. Maybe I'm just going crazy and I haven't paid attention, but I don't think I have. So I feel like the process of it hardening and solidifying a lot quicker and colder weather might affect it. Again, I'm just learning myself as well, so I haven't really been testing like the temperature of the room versus making candles, but from what I can kind of think of right now, when I would make my wax melts in the winter, I would notice a lot more frosting than how I'm using them in the summer. However, I am using also less coloring to them as well, so I'm starting to not add as much color, so that could also affect it. But that's actually really interesting. I'm not too sure about that, but it possibly could. I think there's a couple other questions about like what temperature does the room need to be. I say room temperature, but maybe a little bit warmer than room temperature. I don't know, because right now I think my apartment's at 76 probably. And I would be totally fine making candles in this kind of weather and having it be able to gradually solidify, you know, and not have any, you know, wet spots or frosting or anything. And I also, just so you guys know, my candles are matte black, so I don't have to deal with any frosting or like the wet spot look, like the adhesion to the glass from the sides. So I don't have as much knowledge about that as other people might, like Jeff Stanley or anybody else like that. So this is just kind of my experience, and wax melts have been the main thing that I've noticed with getting frosting on them. So with it being summer and warmer temperatures, I've noticed that getting better. This is gonna be a long video. Oh my gosh, okay. We're already 13 minutes in and I've answered 4 questions. Oh, so sorry, I forgot to answer the first part of your question. So medium straight-sided jars, oof, I'd have to look that up. I didn't look, so it depends on what the diameter of the jar opening is. So if it's been 2 hours, there's still buildup on the sides. It may be too small, it may be a good size, you may need a wick up, you may be good, but it really just depends. I'd kind of have to see, and you kind of have to do more tests with it. As you guys know, I'm not really a big fan of having the wick cause a full melt pool within the first burn, within that 3 to 4 hour mark. I think that that's going to make it way too hot as it burns down into the middle of the jar. So to me, having a safe candle is better than having a perfect candle that burns perfectly cleanly all the way down. Just how I feel about it. I feel like having a safer candle is better, and because of that reason, I'm actually thinking about switching my wicks myself to 2 Eco 1s instead of 2 Eco 2s. So I'm starting to test that out. I did talk with one of my subscribers about it on Facebook a few weeks back, and he had said that he was testing the Eco 1s, was getting really good hot throw, and it was burning really well in the jar. So I do want to test that a little bit more to see how that would go versus the 2 Eco 2s. I still think my candles are safe. I just think that I could probably get away with having the candle burn slower and be just even more safe with doing the 2 Eco 1s. So it's all about burn tests. I would suggest for you to just test from the middle of the jar first. So see how hot it burns from the middle of the jar. Test how long it takes for it to burn all the way, you know, the melt pool, and how deep the melt pool is after a certain amount of time. If the flame goes crazy and it's like super big and it's ridiculous, then it's probably too big. If it seems like a pretty normal flame, I mean, I feel personally that when the candle starts to burn down and it starts to get more enclosed in that area, it has less space, I feel like a flickering flame of the candle is normal. I don't know, that's just how I feel. I feel like I haven't been able to come up with a perfect candle. I definitely haven't been able to come up with a perfect candle. My goal is to create a safe candle, so that is my suggestion for you. Just burn it all the way down. So I feel like a lot of people, they burn the first time and then they look at it, they're like, I don't know if this is right. And you just have to keep going. So keep burning it, you know, trim it down. Try the wick where you don't trim it at all and you keep just re-burning it. Try it where you're burning it for 6 to 8 hours at a time. Try it when you are just burning it for an hour at a time and you blow it out and then you continue doing it. So just try to do it in a way that you think that a customer would do it. And of course, if the customer isn't burning the candle as directed, you can't expect to have a perfect candle. You can't expect to have a perfect candle. So I hope I answered your question. I know I was all over the place, just how I am. So Next question, business insurance. You guys kill me with the legal questions, and I get it because I totally wanted to know the same thing when I got going. So, okay, I'm gonna try to handle this question as best as I can. First, I should probably read the question, right? Okay, question. How do you go about picking business insurance for candle making? I'm in the process of now getting my legalization done, such as retail licensure, EIN number for IRS, and other requirements that my state require. So much, but I would rather know now than get caught up later. Thanks for the videos. And then a few other people were talking about that they would like to know the difference. And to be honest, you guys, I don't feel comfortable about making a whole video on it or really answering it in depth because I am learning myself too. I don't know everything when it comes to the legal aspects. I've really only legally been in business since March. So the end of March 30th. So I don't know too much and I'm just learning myself. I did have a conversation with my grandma who has had many different businesses a couple weekends ago. So she kind of gave me a little bit more clarity on everything. So I live in California. If I were to get an LLC, it would be $800 a year to California in order to keep my LLC. Now LLC is supposed to separate you from your business, and that's really good when you have a lot of assets that you need to protect, a lot of personal property, and she kind of was looking at me like, you don't really need an LLC right now, and maybe later on, like when I get a house, definitely when we get a house, we'll definitely want to get and separate it, get an LLC for my business. But I have business insurance and I have a sole proprietorship. So if you guys don't know what sole proprietorship, it's basically you doing business underneath your social security number. As far as I know, you don't have to register or anything. You're just whatever sales you make, you include it in your income. If you make sales on Shopify, if you make sales on Etsy, if you make sales at a farmer's market, you don't have to do separate income for all those. That's just all one income and you do taxes based on that income. So of course you'd want to have good bookkeeping software. I use QuickBooks Self-Employed, and that just basically keeps track of all of my expenses. I love it. I honestly don't know what I would do without it. You can also put it directly into TurboTax at the end of the year, and they just have everything calculated. You can write off your mileage. It's wonderful. It's a wonderful thing. I love it so much. But basically, I'm just a sole proprietorship right now. I need to get a DBA, so basically doing business as, and then I need to register my business. So that's where I am right now. Yes, I should probably have done this already. Some people will probably argue with me and say I have to get an LLC. I should definitely get an LLC. But as of right now, I mean, I really don't have any assets. I live in a little apartment. I mean, unless my phone and my iPad are assets, unless somebody's gonna sue me for those things. I mean, I don't have any money, so I don't know. As I grow, I'll definitely probably want to get that. So that's what I have right now. And if you guys are wondering, I have Next Insurance. So that is the kind of insurance that I have. There's also Indie Business Insurance. I've heard that people also have Liberty Mutual. Some insurances you have to pay all the money out front, like all the money at once, and then other business insurances you pay monthly. So I have the monthly plan with Next Insurance. It was really simple for me to get on it. I'm sure as I go along, I might find other business insurance that might be better. I've heard really good things about Next, that people have had it for years, and they like it. So I know I needed to just get something. So I feel way more better actually having it. So next thing I need to do is get a DBA and then also register my business. I need to, and I'm just like you guys, I'm like, I don't know, do I have to, get a business license? I have a seller's permit. So when I go to farmers markets, that was free, by the way. I was able to go online. I live in California. I don't know if it's free everywhere else. That's why it's hard, because I'm like, I'm in California. So getting an LLC might be only $200 or $300 where you are a year. And that I'd probably get, but $800 a year, yeah. So I'm like, I don't have that kind of money right now to be getting an LLC. So that's kind of where my head's at when it comes to business insurance, business licensing. As I move forward, I will definitely document that for you guys, but I'm not giving any legal advice. That's not anything that I'm doing. I don't want to get in trouble for that, but this is just my experience. So just sharing my experience so far with you guys. So I hope that helped you guys out. If you didn't know that you could do business just as a sole proprietorship, just under your social security number, then hopefully that helped you guys out. Now going down the list, it would be fantastic to know what red flags you look out for when it comes to making candles. There's so many videos on picking the right wax, the right wick, right jars, but virtually nothing on how to spot a poorly made candle. That's a great question. That's a really good question. The only way that I can kind of have knowledge, a little bit more knowledge and a little bit more experience on that is just from the testing that I've done so far, which, just so you guys know, has been one kind of wax and multiple different kinds of wicks that I've tested with it. So I don't have a wide variety of like knowing and understanding a bunch of different waxes. I just know the soy 10 that I've been using and how it performs. So what I kind of looked for with my candles was I didn't want any smoking. So smoking to me really meant that it was overwicked. So that's really what it screamed to me, was this candle is way too overwicked right now and you need to switch it for a different candle, especially if the candle was at the top. So if the candle was just like a new candle that you're burning for the first time, and if it smokes and it has all the oxygen around it, again, I'm not a scientist, so I don't even know if what I'm saying is correct, but to me, when I was looking at it, if it was smoking a lot from it, I had a video, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find that video, but I had a video a while back where I was showing that when I was trimming the wicks before on the candles, I was trimming them way too long. So sometimes if you guys are testing a candle and you light it and it starts like smoking, the flame's really big and you're like, holy crap, like I overwicked the crap out of this, like I need to wick down. Maybe not. Maybe you just need to trim the wick. So that's what's hard for me, because what if your customer later doesn't trim the wick and then the wick becomes way too big now? Even though before it wasn't too big, but now it's too big because the wick is not trimmed down and now it's going to create a huge flame. Most people don't even look at their candles when it's burning, and you know, like with the normal person, they're going to light the candle and walk away and do something else. With us, when we light the candle, we're like every 2 seconds just like looking at it like, are you smoking? How's the flame? How's it going? How much has it melted? You know, like we're just like looking at it constantly, and that's not a normal thing that you would do. So I think what's hard is us as candle makers, we're trying to make something perfect, and you can't make it perfect. You cannot make it perfect. I know some people would probably beg to differ, that they have like the absolute perfect candles that checks off everything on the list, but for me, I don't think you can make the perfect candle. So when I'm looking for red flags, I'm looking for excessive smoking, tons of flickering, a huge flame. When you see a huge flame, no bueno. You don't want the flame to be massive inside the jar when it's burning, especially as it burns down in the jar, it gets way hotter. So to me, when I was testing the wicks, that really was catching my eye, was just the excessive smoking on the candle. Is bugging me so much. Sooting, I feel like just a little, just every once in a while, just like boop, just like black, like every once in a while, just like boop, like from the flame. I feel like it's normal. I feel like it's so normal for a candle to do. We can't control it. We can't control exactly what the candle's gonna do. So when it's just like a little bit here and there, I don't know. I don't think it's that bad. Am I wrong? I might be wrong. I don't know. But if it's like you're looking at it, it's like boop, 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 like black, no. So that's my thoughts on it. That's kind of the red flags that I look for, especially when I was starting out with the testing phase. And again, with the candle flame being too hot, that's why I'm thinking about switching to 2 Eco 1s instead of the 2 Eco 2s, just to make it a little bit more controlled with the heat and how hot it gets as it burns down. So moving on, because I could talk about that for a long time. I love all your videos, learning a lot. Do you find that sometimes you have to change the wick size when you change the fragrance oil, even with the same wax and same container? I have not personally had to do that, but I did talk to my candle supplier months ago, and they had recommended that when I used a certain kind of fragrance oil that I might need to wick up or wick down. I can't remember what they said. And it was due to certain qualities of the fragrance oil, and it's nothing that you could see with the fragrance oil. It's nothing that you're looking at the bottle, you're weighing it, you're seeing any kind of consistency. It's nothing that the supplier can ever let you know, except for in that one instance. And I had asked them how they knew, and they just told me just from experience, just from testing it out, and that's just what they learned. I can't remember exactly the reasons or the properties or the qualities of it that they had told me about, but I'm sure they explained it to me. I just can't really remember right now. But yes, there is a possibility that that could be the case, that a wax will burn hotter. Oh, maybe that's what it was. The fragrance oil will make the wax burn hotter, so you might need to wick down. I think that's what it was. So I personally haven't had that issue, or I might just not be knowledgeable to understand that yet. I might not be knowledgeable to understand what to look for when it comes to that. So that's something I'm still learning as well, and that's why you gotta test all your fragrance oils. So this next question I've already kind of answered about like the room temperatures. Have you considered Alibaba for supplies for your business, jars, labels, etc.? Yes, I have considered that before. I've actually purchased, not candle related, but when I was recently on Amazon FBA and doing private labeling, I did order from Alibaba. So I am familiar with the process of how to contact suppliers and get it shipped out. I know that the prices that you see on Alibaba, it's not the prices, you guys. They do that to be able to lure you in, or there's like a large minimum. So there might be like a $500 to $1,000 to 1,000 piece minimum for those prices that they set. So there's a possibility that you might need to order 1,000 jars or 1,500 jars in order to get that discount. So I feel like that's going to be on the higher spectrum when I start to grow my business even more, because I live in an 800, I don't even think it's 800, I think it's like 700, between 700 and 800 square foot apartment. I don't have room for 1,500 jars in here. I barely have room for everything that I have. So yes, in the future, I definitely want to consider doing that and be able to get them directly from the manufacturer instead of through the supplier. So yes, that is something that I have considered. When you launched, how many candles did you have ready to go beforehand? So I believe I started with either 5 or 6 different scents. And if you guys saw my Instagram post a couple of weeks ago, I was talking about how I wasn't sure, and I still am kind of up in the air about how much in stock should I have of each scent, because when I first started, I thought that I wanted to have 12 to 15 candles in stock of each scent, and I want to have 16 scents. That didn't work out. No, that didn't work out. That didn't happen. That did not happen. It's kind of like expectation versus reality. Reality hit me of, well, that means I have to buy the supplies in order to have that. And then also, what if I have scents that don't sell, and then I'm stuck with all these scents that didn't sell, and then these scents do sell, but then I could have used those jars for this scent that did sell. So what my main goal was quality and testing over quantity. So I wanted to have good quality scents, and I wanted to have an abundance, well, not an abundance, but like I had, like 5 to 6 scents, but then I'm like trying to add more scents all the time, and I wanted to test the market for what scents did the best, and then kind of phase out ones that weren't doing as good. And I didn't want to have a huge stock of scents that weren't doing that great. So I decided on 4 to 6 candles per scent is what I started with. Some of them I even only had 3, but for the most part, it was anywhere from 3 to 6 candles that I had when I was starting out. So if we do on average, let's do 4 times 6, 24. We'll say 25 candles I started with when I opened up my shop, and then I had a good amount of wax melts. I had been kind of going crazy with wax melts because you can make those so easily and so fast. And I probably had, I don't have that many scents. Sorry guys, I didn't keep track of this. I should have kept track of this. I don't know why I didn't. I should have. But I would say maybe 30 wax melts, we'd say at the time, maybe 35, and then the candles maybe 25. So I didn't have that much supplies. I just was testing. I was like, I don't want to go crazy and just start putting out these scents and having a ton in stock and then not selling out. And I would rather just keep paying the 20 cents every time it sold out to just get an idea of, okay, well, these scents are doing well. And especially with COVID and everything, I mean, the suppliers, as you guys know, candle suppliers, they've been hit really hard with everybody and their moms wanting to make candles. So we have been having a hard time with getting our supplies. So I just didn't want to start making tons of every scent and then not having enough supplies to make more and testing new scents with the market. So that was my theory on everything. So somebody said, I'm having problems with selecting a wick. Any suggestions? When I get questions like that, like very generic questions, it's kind of, it's a little hard to answer because I need some more information. So if you guys ever have any questions about what you're working with, I mean, I can do the best I can, but again, I only know what I know with my kind of wax. I always recommend doing Candle Science's wick guide. I know a lot of people say it doesn't help at all. It's giving you wrong sizes, but it's really just testing. I mean, don't feel like you guys are wasting your time or wasting your money when you're testing. That is so important. Like the most important thing that you guys could be doing is testing and more testing. And when you're done testing, you need to test some more and test the wicks and test at different points of the jar and test, just keep testing. And that's what I recommend for you guys. So if you're having trouble picking a wick, just get any wick sizes, all the wick sizes that you know, and then test with the same jar, the same fragrance oil, the same percentage of fragrance oil, and test the different wicks and see how they do, and keep testing it down. So don't just burn the first 4 hours and then look at it and think, okay, well, I don't know which one I'm, like just think that one's bad or one's, better or whatever. You need to keep relighting them and keep testing them. And yes, I know it's frustrating. I know it's frustrating. Trust me, I know it's frustrating. But you got to keep going and keep testing, and it's going to be so worth it. Okay, so somebody asked the same question. How many candles did you start when you launched? What is the minimum amount someone should invest in when starting a business with the amount of products you did? Are you asking money? Like how much money was the minimum amount of money? Whew. I don't know. Candle making's expensive. Candle making businesses are expensive. I didn't get into this because I wanted to make money. I got into this because I almost cussed. It gave me like a reason. It gave me a purpose. It gave me something that made me feel so complete with every avenue of everything that I've ever wanted to do, and it put it all together. So I didn't start this because I'm like, I need to make tons and tons of money. It's just been really hard, and it's been a really slow process. So you have to know that there is no right or wrong answer to this question. I mean, I could say $500, I could say $1,000, I could say $3,000. It just depends on what your goal is, and what kind of candle line you want to have. You need to take the time and think of what kind of candles you want to have available to everybody. If you're going to do affordable candles, luxury candles, themed candles, like niche candles, whatever kind of candles you're going to be having, that's something that you have to do tons of research on and see what people in the market are paying for those kind of candles. So with this, I'm so sorry I can't give you an answer. It's so hard to talk about. Maybe in one of these videos I'll really get together. I'll do tons of research on different websites. I love research, and I'll see just kind of a basic idea of how much you should get that would be good enough for you to understand testing, and then how much that would cost, and then from there going into how much you should get to open up a candle. I think I might do a video like that. So that type of video might answer that question a little bit more than how I answered that question. Ooh, the sun went behind the clouds. That changed. How to prevent black smoke from CD wicks because, whoop, dropped that. Because I really need help with the smoke showing up on my clear jars. That was a big issue that I had with CD wicks, that they smoked a lot. It could be also an issue with the length that you're starting. So like it might not be how far you cut down the wick before you light it. So you need to make sure that it's between 1/8 of an inch and 1/4 of an inch before you light it. That could take down the smoke. It could also be just too big for the jar that it's in. So that could be an issue as well. So you can either wick down, if the diameter of the jar is over 3 inches, you might need to double wick, which is what I learned the hard way because I was trying to wick up too much on a diameter jar and it ended up just smoking a ton, and that's why my my jars that I have now are double wicked, and it was a glorious day when I found that out. I use soy 444. How can I prevent and fix frosting on the top of my soy candles? I don't have experience with 444. But from what I've learned from everybody else, it could be how fast it's cooling down could cause frosting. So if your room is a little bit colder, it's a little bit cooler. There's also the heat guns that everybody uses, which I got a heat gun for the very first time. Actually, my boyfriend got a heat gun and I used it to fix one of my candles and ruin one of my wax melts because plastic. Should have known not to use it on plastic, but it was like it was great. Anyways, so don't use it on plastic clamshell molds. It's not gonna work the way you think it's going to. But I had some little air bubble like pockets on the sides and the corners of my jars, and I just didn't like the way that it looked. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll just make a little bit more and I'll pour it on top, but I decided to just use a heat gun and it worked out flawlessly. So I really liked using the heat gun. So I've heard that people will just use heat guns to be able to get rid of the frosting on top. I know it's kind of a pain though, to use it with all the candles you're making. This person was saying they're in the process of starting their business. Did you have any issues with your vendor? The only thing I can think of, like, did I have any issues with my supplier with getting vendor? Like a vendor at a farmer's market? Vendor, no, that's like where you get stuff from, like my supplier. I haven't had any issues with my supplier. They're local to me. They're about an hour away. I go and pick up my jars and my wax there and my wicks. Everything but well, I do get some fragrance oils there, but I get fragrance oils all over the place. I haven't had an issue except for during COVID and during this whole time. They've been out of stock constantly of everything that I need. So that's the only issue that I've had. I haven't really had any issues. What made you decide to take the plunge and jump in feet first, starting a candle business? So many people are scared to start. How has the journey been, and what are the things you've loved the most throughout it so far, and the speed bumps you've run into along the way? What a great question. I want to make a whole video on this. So I'm just going to give you guys some basics. I kind of said it a little bit earlier, and one of my answers was just, it made me feel just very, I felt so compelled and so like drawn to making candles, and just the whole process, designing the labels and creating, and just the aesthetic of it, and just the response I was getting from everybody just wanted me, just made me want to keep making it. And then starting this YouTube channel and just kind of like falling into the candle community and just like absolutely falling in love with it. So that's really what kind of made me dive into it, was just wanting to turn a passion into a business finally, and not just wanting to make money, because that's not what this is about. I have had so many conversations with some family members and with my boyfriend, and just saying that like I don't care about making money. Yes, I need to make money in order to pay bills, but it's not the absolute most important thing to be making tons and tons of money, or to make my business like $1 million business. I've never had that mindset that my business can only be successful if it's like $1 million business. I don't think that at all. I'm okay if I'm a one-woman show forever with this business and it's just me. It might change in the future, but as of right now, that's kind of what I like, and that's what I like about it, is that I have the freedom and the ability to build this up myself and be able to sell something that I created from the ground up. It's It's the best thing in the whole world. So I'm gonna make a whole video on that. So that's just kind of a little bit of my answer to that. How did you sell locally? Is it word of mouth, Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, and how good are local sales for you versus a platform such as Etsy? So because I started really selling during the pandemic, my online sales have been so much better than word of mouth. A lot of word of mouth has been through coworkers, and some of my family has purchased some, but a lot of my coworkers have told their friends and family about it, which is really cool. So it definitely spreads through there. I have had one person contact me through my YouTube channel and purchase locally from me because she lived 15 minutes away, so that was really cool. But yeah, definitely as soon as everything starts opening up, hopefully I will start to get a lot more word of mouth. I know I told you guys in a video a long time ago that I needed to do Facebook ads, video Facebook ads, and I still need to do that. I have all the time in the world right now, and that's just something that I still haven't done. So I need to do that. I feel like the hardest part about working at home is trying to get myself organized and be productive at all times. Like, have a schedule. I need to get a schedule down. So that's what I need to do. But yeah, definitely Etsy online sales have been so much better. I like that you share your mistakes because I've had a lot of them myself. How did you start a website and best to promote yourself? Well, I haven't started my own website, so I do want to start a Shopify store and be able to promote through Facebook and Instagram ads. I know I need to get a TikTok. I told myself I need to get a TikTok. I know I need to do that. So through all kinds of, just wherever people's eyes are, that's where you need to be promoting. So that is what I'm going to do as soon as I get a Shopify store, and that will really tell me how good my marketing skills are, which right now, not that great. So definitely need to work on that, and I'll document that along the way. This one is a very long question. Oh, I kind of answered her question a little bit in this. Just she was asking, she uses my wax, and she was asking about, she wasn't getting the hot throw she was looking for. So I was asking her what kind of fragrance oils that she was using, and from what I had gotten. She said she had tried a few other fragrance oils because she said that she was using lavender. So I gave her some suggestions from Candle Science, some fragrances that are really strong for her to try out. So sometimes the fragrance oils that you are trying, they can just be a little bit weaker. So, it's kind of a hit or miss with fragrance oils. I always know that if my candle is not giving off a hot throw, like a really good hot throw, it's not my wax, it's not my wicks, and it's not my jar, it's the fragrance oil, because I have eliminated everything else because I know that those throw well with a lot of others, so it's the fragrance oil. Last question from my community tab is there a formula to add color dye to candles? So I've gotten this question a lot, actually. So in a lot of my other videos where I'm talking about the formulas of how much wax, how much fragrance oil to use, some people are like, okay, well, what if you're adding dye to it? Do you add, is there a way that you could add a formula into that? It's not gonna add that much weight. It's really not going to add that much weight. Maybe a gram, maybe 2 grams, if that. It's not going to change anything if you're putting some liquid dye or even a full dye block in there. It's not going to change anything, you guys. So you don't have to worry about that. Just keep with the formula of wax to fragrance oils. You don't have to worry about the dye or anything. It's not going to change the formula. This might eventually turn into a series of just candle making questions, part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, just however many times I need to make this to answer some of your guys' questions, because honestly, answering these questions on a video like this where I can just go and explain it, because texting, doing it through text, is so much more difficult. So if I can explain it out loud for you guys, that is so much easier for me, and also it helps other people too who might have the same question, because I get the same questions all the time. I thought I was going to be able to add in my questions from Instagram, but my video is going to be probably close to 2 hours if I do that, and maybe like an hour and a half to 2 hours, and that's just a little bit too long. So I'm gonna break that into a part 3 for you guys, because I feel like that's just gonna be a little bit better. This might just be too much, because this is already gonna be a long video. So that wraps it up. I love doing these videos. I love just sitting here answering questions. It's the easiest videos that I do and the most like natural of just me talking. And even if I don't know the answer, I'm gonna try my best. So that is today's video. So look out for a part 3 because I will be answering those questions. Don't think that I forgot about you guys because I will be answering those questions and more as I see more and more questions being asked more frequently. I will definitely be trying to answer as many questions as I can. I have been getting more of an influx of DMs and questions and more comments, so I apologize if I'm not answering as quickly as I used to. I used to just like scour, wait and see if I get any comments and just answer them immediately. But sometimes with kind of the influx and with me being a little bit more busy with what I'm doing, sometimes it's hard, so I apologize if it takes me like a day or two to answer you guys' questions. I try my best, but with that, I think I am done with today's video. I really hope that you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below, as well as don't forget to subscribe and like today's video if you did, and don't forget to follow me on Instagram at MemoryBoxCandleCo, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.